Hey guys, welcome to this video for you guys here on Wrestling Fan Open My Night. Yours truly is back again for you guys, for your wrestling pleasure. Quite honestly, I enjoy talking about professional wrestling topics. So if you're new around here, hi. If you're old around here, hi. But all to the new ones, obviously hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you'll be in and updated anytime when I do any videos on this very channel. Now I want to first and foremost, before I get into the main focus of the video, is I do apologise about the lateness of that video that I actually done about Swerve Strickland. Now, I did that when I was in my hotel room. Yeah, the Wi-Fi was dog shit. That's why I didn't upload it when I was on the eve of the wedding that I went to on Thursday. So I got back Friday. I blooming crashed and then obviously uploaded it for you guys. So I wasn't going to delete it and re-record it, but obviously due to when that Swerve Strickland was in the Owen Hart Tournament, that kind of threw that video technically under the bus, even though people still watched it, which I'm totally grateful for. And probably still people are watching it now. You know, sometimes some videos skyrocket on this channel, some videos don't. End of the day, I just enjoy talking about professional wrestling. It's me way to vent as a wrestling fan. And that's the whole idea when we talk about professional wrestling. You know, we do it at conventions, we do it with other people. We're part of the IWC, YWC. End of the day, we just have our own opinions. That's why we love to talk about professional wrestling. That's why we do content, and obviously, a lot of people relate to your opinions and so on. That's why we do what we do. You know, we don't get paid to do this. Other than people, yeah, they do have sponsorships, but I don't. You know, I literally do not have any sponsorships whatsoever. But one thing I want to say, when I saw the Owen Hart Tournament, I wanted to talk about it. I was itching to talk about it, and that's why I'm bringing it to you guys today. Now, I know it's late doing it, but quite honestly, I don't mind doing it because, end of the day, it's part of wrestling and it's part of my fandom. Probably a part of your fandom. I feel like the Owen Hart Tournament, when I look at it, every time when I see it put together, I literally would say this. The only one improvement I would actually do with the Owen Hart Tournament every year, I feel like you should have more participants than you do every single year. I look at this tournament, don't get me wrong, screams to me an instant classic yet again. You have the likes of Will Ospreay versus Samoa Joe, unbelievable. You know, I never thought that match would happen. I was hoping that was going to be the final. You know, when they announced that match, but no. And everyone's saying, "Oh, Will Ospreay's going to win it. It's so predictable and all this lot." But this is coming from the people that don't watch the products because at the end of the day, with the Owen Hart Tournament, I would say this is technically not predictable. Yeah, fair enough. The female one was kind of predictable. The Mercedes Moné that was winning it. But if I remember rightly, she faced Jamie Hayter, so it was that close to getting the belt, obviously, from the tournament. And I want to say this as a wrestling fan. I would say this: the Owen Hart Tournament should mean a lot more to wrestling people than people meets the eye with those. Because you look at the women one, it's opened the door to like of stardom to get involved, and I feel like when I look at the men's one, I feel like you should have New Japan Pro Wrestling involved. You know, that's just saying because obviously the final is going to be at Forbidden Door. At least one thing is give you another reason to watch Double or Nothing and then Forbidden Door. You know, that's what I love about that sort of aspect to it. Yeah, fair enough, we've had the final All in the past, and it's not materialised the way the people gave Martha Hart reception. She got booed out of Wembley Stadium. I remember being there, hearing it. I was like, oh, that didn't go down well. But one thing I want to actually say to you guys is I feel like the Owen Hart tournament, where people have been reporting, is this tarnishing the likes of Owen Hart's legacy and all this lot? And I'm thinking, no, yes, no, not yes. Where was I going? No. How's this tarnishing it? It should be appreciated a lot more. I feel like this should mean a lot more to wrestling fans than meet the eye. Just even though you're a casual fan watching AEW or any professional wrestling, I feel like you should appreciate this more than what you are given already. I feel like in a way it should be meaning a lot more to professional wrestling fans in a whole, let alone professional wrestlers in a whole. Because if you're doing the forbidden door, like getting winning the tournament and so on, getting to the final at Forbidden Door, I feel like you should open the doors to a lot more professional wrestling companies. You have a working relationship with MLW, bringing the likes of Maple Leaf Wrestling that you're already doing a working relationship with Ring of Honor over this past year. And I feel like you should be doing that. You should be getting more working relationships that are decent working relationships. Like, yes, fair enough, it was underrated at the time, but obviously, yes, WWE are working with them. But you could have had the likes of Impact Wrestling back in the day, but you haven't done that anyway because you're doing WWE and TKO. We can understand that as wrestling fans. We can take that on the chin. That wasn't technically that great, but it was a lot beneficial for TNA at the time. But I look at the way this, and I feel like it should mean more to meets the eye with these sort of tournaments, like the Owen Hart tournament. In fact, the Owen Hart tournament, if he was that much of a likable character, I feel like people should be watching this. Not just because it's like on AEW broadcasting. No, I feel like it means so much more to wrestling than meets the eye because end of the day, for a while a lot of fans loved and appreciated Owen Hart, and I feel like you should be basically watching it for that reason. You know, other than you're gonna get the mixture of different styles, but I feel like the way you look at this is such a interesting fact going forward, and I'm thinking to myself how great this is every time when they put it on. But I feel like they should be doing more brackets week by week, and that's just me being honest. You know, I'm honest, as you know, for a while, and I feel like other than just opening the doors to other companies that are coming in, I feel like you should be, how to put it in a nicer way, you should be using more of your roster that you don't technically see on TV. And that's the only drawback I feel about it. That I feel like there should be more brackets than what we are actually getting, even though every year it seems like an instant classic. They have great matches that make you feel like you want to believe into something. And that's what I miss about sometimes when it comes to a tournament. I when I look at the Owen Hart tournament, is equivalent to the King of the Ring when it was on a pay per view, or PLE is the known as what the WWE gave off. When they do the something class, and I forgot the name of it. I do apologize. I've done a video on this in the past. That every time everyone's comparing that to I think it was the G1 Classic. This is the AEW version. And when I literally look at this, and I feel like when I look at the Owen Hart thing, and I literally thinking that's the only thing that's missing. Other companies getting involved, you know, because it's towards Forbidden Door. I feel like you should put some British talent in there, not just Will Ospreay. I mean, like you working with the likes of Rev Pro, and when it comes to the women's one, like Pro Wrestling Eve, for an example. And obviously Murray Gold, Stardom's already been showboated. They're already in the females ones. But I feel like when I look at the females ones, I feel like, yeah, you should have more brackets as well. You know? And it's an interesting time to be a wrestling fan when I look at how much the Owen Hart tournament means to me as a wrestling fan. And it's one of my highlights that I'll always look forward to watching with AEW. Apart from obviously going to AEW shows in person, I feel like this is one of my highlights that I love to watch, and it means so much to me as a wrestling fan, because I was a fan of watching the golden era of professional wrestling when they said people still to this day say Owen Hart was a way of a hell of his time and so on. And I've witnessed near enough every match that he actually had in the likes of WWF and when he flopped in WCW. If I remember rightly, watching him in WCW, and he didn't do that well for WCW because they didn't see the potential in what Vince saw in him. And I felt like, looking back at Owen's matches, how great they were. And I feel like that's why I feel like the Owen Hart tournament should be opening to more professional wrestlers, and that's just my only gripe with it, and lack of brackets. But although I still look forward to watching it every single year, every time when it's on, I can't wait for this one. I really not cannot wait. I'm looking forward to seeing Swerve Strickland come back, and that's why I talked about him in my last video. And lo and behold, because of obviously the hotel Wi-Fi being so shy, and then next before you know it, I see him in the brackets. I felt like saying charming, isn't it? But how great the Owen Hart tournament is every year. I feel like it's highly underrated. Absolutely highly underrated. And I feel like for a casual fan, just to check it out, to see what it's like, I feel like it should be marketed a lot more than it is. I feel like it should have a standalone pay-per-view. And that's me being honest. A standalone pay-per-view like the King of the Ring once was. Not one to do it week by week, but although they made it interesting because they're actually doing the final on Forbidden Door, and that's just me being honest. But tell me your thoughts below of this video, and I'll catch you guys soon for another video here on YouTube. See you soon.